What if Sean O'Malley beats Petr Yan at UFC 280? It's going to really shake up the division, and everyone seems to be writing Sean off as if he's like some absolute bum who's got no striking experience whatsoever, just because of who Petr Yan is. I'm not discrediting him. I'm saying that Petr Yan is an absolute monster, but I'm saying that Sean has got a chance. What do you think, Dwayne?
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like so many of the MMA community right now are really focused on Sean O'Malley as though he's a nobody, as though he's just a can and Petr Yan's just going to run through him. And maybe we might end up looking silly after this, and maybe he will batter him. But I just think like you cannot write off Sean O'Malley in this fight. I know it sounds a cliche like, oh, but look how big he is. But he's massive. He's 5'11". I think Petr Yan's about, 4'2". He literally is just the size difference is ridiculous. And if Sean O'Malley can keep at that range and keep him at bay, I think he can clock a decision here because, Petr Yan is renowned for being a slow starter. And I think he's definitely going to lose that first round either way. And then he's got to play catch up for the next two. And if he's then headhunting, he could really get caught by Sean.
That's the thing, exactly what you said then, because people seem to always say, oh, everyone seems to talk about the height and it doesn't really matter. While Sean O'Malley's taller than Daniel Cormier, Petr Yan's out there getting second breakfast with Frodo and Sam. You know what I mean? It does really bring in a factor. And you can't just sit and say, yeah, but Petr Yan's really good. He is really good. I'm saying he's a monster. But I'm saying that Sean O'Malley is the rising force. They're not that different. They're not that separate in age at all. I think Petr is like a year older or something like that. I think you'd mentioned in a previous video. And Sean O'Malley, you look at his striking. He's got it all. It's not as if he's lacking here. I must admit, though, I'm going to feel for Sean O'Malley. Watch out for his facial expressions when he feels that first leg kick from Yan.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because that's, we can say what we want about Sean, but he has had, some issues with his legs, hasn't he? He went down and with his, I don't remember who he fought, but he obviously busted his leg down and he was gone. And the guy was on top of him, but for some reason, he tried to take him down and then he ended up still winning. And then he had that fight with Chito Vera. The thing is with Chito, everyone sort of talks about like, oh, Chito Vera, he purposely did that. Well, why doesn't Chito Vera do that in every single fight then? Why doesn't he kick everyone in the peripheral nerve? I don't even know how to say that, but why doesn't he do it? Why doesn't he just kick everyone there, take all their legs down? If he did it on purpose, do it every fight, Chito, right?
Well, that poses another question as well, what you just brought up. What if Sean O'Malley wins? Is it the super fight? Because it will be a super fight with Chito, and Chito's a monster in himself. Or is it going for gold? It's a number one contender spot, or is it going to be are they going to keep the Chito Vera rematch in the bank and then have that? Because I know a few people will be upset with if Sean jumps the queue, should we say?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Sean will jump the queue, I think, but either way, Chito or Sean should probably get the title fight next. Because who's Chito fighting? Is I don't remember.
Doesn't want to announce, I don't think.
No. So I know Chito's fighting someone near the end of the year, I think. And so he's likely got to get a title shot, or Sean O'Malley will. I don't think they should have a number one contenders fight because I think that story is so more interesting if one of them has the gold and then you have that rematch. Imagine if Sean O'Malley has the gold or Chito Vera has the gold and then you've got that story going into it. I think we're really sort of showing our sort of WWE fan here, and sort of talking about how it builds that interesting storyline. But I think it really does. It goes into there. Sean's come off a loss and then he's now got to go against Chito Vera again for the gold. And I think that's such a fun story to tell.
It is a really good story, but we're forgetting about this boulder in the way of either Aljamain Sterling or TJ Dillashaw. Yeah. Whoever the winner of that, they've got to get through them to get the gold. But this story is already wrote. We know how Sean feels about that loss to Chito Vera. He doesn't even count it as a loss. We know Chito doesn't care. Yeah, 11 wins, one loss. But no, it's just, and Sean O'Malley is the only guy to finish Pedro Munoz, controversial or not.
But yeah, that is true.
It all, all paths lead to this. This is a super fight that I think hopefully we're going to get because Sean was very much, you know, it was coming off that, was it a 2-year like hiatus that he took off or something? And he'd fought, you know, Eddie Vineland and all that kind of thing. And then, you know, fought Chito Vera, and unfortunately it did go his way. But this Chito's been grinding. And obviously to come out off a big knockout win off a vet like Dominic Cruz is something ridiculous. But this opens up so many doors, though. If Sean wins, we've got this WWE-esque style storyline that we're desperate for to happen. But if Sean loses, what happens? I mean, is he just going to deny that? You know, well, 2 losses. That's it.
Yeah. You know? Well, I guess it depends how he loses, doesn't it? I somewhat like the gimmick of the idea that, you know, he's undefeated, and he says that because, like, look at Chael Sonnen, you know, he's pushed that gimmick his whole career that he's undefeated, and you know,
I don't know what Sean O'Malley talking about. Chael Sonnen is undefeated. There's
100%.
I don't know what
it's not a gimmick. It's true. It's true. Don't fact check anything Chael Sonnen says ever. Okay, you'll be disappointed. I think with that gimmick, it really works for Sean O'Malley because he gets so much hate from the MMA community, and yet he's probably one of the biggest stars now. You know, I'm not saying he's up there with Conor, nowhere near that level yet, but he really is rising. I think it's him, Hamzat, and Paddy. And so I feel like the UFC are probably really going to push Sean. So if he can get this win, they're probably going to push him to a title fight. But if he loses, I don't think that's bad for him either. You know, it's okay to lose to Petr Yan. You know, he is one of the best in the division. You know, he was the champion. So, you know, Sean's still young. He can always keep building his career. A loss doesn't define you. You know, it doesn't make you, as long as you can rise above it. And hopefully Sean can do that. I'm mostly just curious to see what level Sean is really at now. You know, if he comes out against Petr Yan, can he put on a similar to performance as though he usually does? Imagine if he comes out and he beats Petr Yan the same way he beat Almeida or someone like that. I mean, I think that will just make everyone crazy.
If he comes out and he absolutely puts on a clinic and it's a showcase and it's another one for the highlight reel, I think we are talking about if you want to call it, the 2022 version of Conor McGregor's rise, because you couldn't write it any better if that happened. If it happens, these are all big ifs, to be honest. It's just speculating what could happen if. But I think, like we said, the storyline, the WWE fans, insiders are probably rooting for a Sean win just so we get these big payoffs. But UFC 280 is right around the corner, and I can't wait to see this fight. But for now, I think that's all we've got time for. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help us out.